Recording in progress.
So we will now have here the specific enzymes. And for today, we will have 3. Lactate dehydrogenase, your G6PD, and your AST. So let's start here with your lactate dehydrogenase. So ito yung example natin kanina pa, right? Your LDH or your lactate dehydrogenase. So what is the EC code for this one? EC code number. Sige nga. What is the EC code number for your LDH? Very good. That is 1.1.1.27. So, ang bilis ng iba, no? Nasagutan agad. So, very good. And this means na, since it's 1.1.1.27, this is under your class 1 enzyme, your oxidoreductase, right? So, your LDH here, it catalyzes the interconversion of your lactic acid and pyruvic acids. So, dalawang substrates yan, no? It's a hydrogen transfer enzyme that uses your coenzyme NAD. You still remember what coenzyme is? It's a cofactor, right? And it acts as a what? It acts as a second substrate. Wag lang basta substrate. Second substrate dapat. Okay, very good, Vincent. So your coenzyme here, it acts as your second substrate. At ano yung ginagamit na coenzyme dito? Your nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. So nasabi ko na to kanina, di ba? This is one example of your coenzyme. What is the other one? Your nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. Your NADP. Okay? So in your lactate dehydrogenase, gumagamit tayo ng coenzyme here, your NAD. And as you can see here on the right, you have your illustration of the tetrameric molecule. So tetrameric molecule siya containing 4 subunits of 2 possible forms. So the 2 possible forms are the H and M. At hindi po ito yung store kung saan kayo bumibili ng aesthetic na mga blouses and all, no, your H&M store. So here, this is, or it stands for the heart and the muscle. Okay, H and M. So 2 possible forms or subunits yun, no. You have here H and M. So it can be again H, 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 or H4, tama. It can also be M, 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 or M4. Pwede din yung combination, no, H, H, H2M2, pwede din H1M3, pwede din H3M1, or yes. So, H3M1. So, pwede yung mga ganyang forms natin for the lactate dehydrogenase. And your lactate dehydrogenase is widely distributed in the body. As you can see here, you have the tissue sources. Makikita siya sa heart, liver, skeletal muscle, kidney, and RBC. Mataas yung concentrations nila doon, no? And mababa naman sa lungs, smooth muscle, and brain. So, since madami ang tissue sources nito, yung ating total LDH is considered non-specific. Kasi nga, madami to sa several tissues. It can be seen, or the presence of this can be seen in several tissues. So if there is an elevated total LDH, non-specific siya. So mas maganda, it is much better if we separate them into their isoenzymes or into its isoenzyme fractions. Kasi mas clinically significant yun. No, yung LDH 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So increased levels are found in cardiac, hepatic, skeletal muscle, renal diseases, hematologic, and neoplastic disorders. Okay? Mataas sila doon, no? Increased levels. Highest levels of total LDH are seen in pernicious anemia and hemolytic disorders. Why is that so? Bakit kaya? Yes, Christian, may leakage po ng LDH. Yes, very good because, yes, Sophia, very good. Because here, you can see RBCs. Madami ang ating LDH or mataas sa ating RBCs. So if there's disruption, mataas ang level kasi magli-leak yung ating LDH here. Pernicious anemia and your hemolytic disorders. Okay? LDH can also be observed in your viral hepatitis kasi may source din tayo dyan, liver, right? Cirrhosis, AMI sa heart, diba? And pulmonary infarct. As a matter of fact, you will observe slight elevations 2 to 3 times the upper limit of normal. Okay, 2 to 3 times the upper limit of normal. And your LDH can also be tested in AMI. What do we mean by AMI? AMI, this is your acute myocardial infarction. Or simply, the common term of this is what? Simply called as your, starts with letter H and A.
Heart attack.
Very good. Heart attack. So we can correlate the LDH levels in heart attack, no? Pwede din siya, but this is not a specific marker for the diagnosis of the heart attack, no? Pwede siyang magamit natin together with the other tests. Okay, so hindi pwedeng ito lang na mag-isa. So pwede natin siyang magamit to assess, no, if the patient had experienced heart attack. Say for example, may dinalang pasyente, no, sa hospital. And then sabi ng relatives, may nanikipang dibdib. So baka po na heart attack yan, ganyan. So pwede nating i-test yung ating LDH dito. So in heart attack or in acute myocardial infarction, the LDH levels begins to rise within 12 to 24 hours. And then peak levels within 48 to 72 hours. Dito sila mataas na mataas. And it can remain elevated for 10 days. So, ganun katagal. So, we can use this as one of the tests, no, for acute myocardial infarction. Now, question. So, di ba may pasyenteng dinala sa hospital. So, sabi ng mga relatives, parang inatake po sa puso si lolo or si lola, ganyan. And tinanong ng doktor, no, kailan po nangyari? Kung nakita yung paninikip ng dibdib and all. So sabi ng relatives, 1 hour ago po. Kaya po namin dinala dito sa hospital. Now, ang ginawa ng doktor, sige, gumawa ng mga assessment and all, tas nag-request ng mga test. Kasama doon si LDH. Do you think it will give you a precise result or accurate result, precise and accurate results for AMI? Yes or no? Sinama ni Doc si LDH sa mga tests. So tama ba nakasama si LDH? Yes or no? No? Yes, very good. Why, Chigazia? Ay, oo nga pala, walang mic, no? Yes, Adrian, why no?
Kasi po ma'am yung beginning po ng pag-increase or yung parang detectable po na increase ng LDH is within ano pa po ma'am, 12 to 24 hours and yung peak niya po is up to 18 to 72 hours. So pag 1 hour, probably po ay hindi po reliable yung result if ever po.
Very good. So, hindi reliable yung result natin. Masasayang lang yung test, masasayang lang yung bayad at pag-charge kasi hindi pa talaga expected that the LDH level will increase. Because 1 hour pa lang, the event happened 1 hour ago, an hour ago, diba? So, pwedeng sabihin nyo, Doc, wag niyo po muna i-include si LDH. Kung kaya niyong sabihin sa doc yun, no? Sabihin ni doc sa'yo, ay, magaling ka pa sa akin, ah. But if the doctor is a registered medical technologist, wow, nag-endorse, no? Maganda kasi alam na nila yon. O kayo, 'di ba? Pag doctor na kayo in the future, so hindi niyo na isasama yan na test or maybe after 24 hours, dun niyo na ipapadagdag yan, no? Okay? So, yun yung kagandahan kasi you already noticed, no? So, after 48 or 72 hours talaga yung advisable kasi peak levels yan eh. So, if the patient really had a heart attack, makikita nyong mataas yung LDH niyan pagka 48 to 72 hours. So, you have to take note, no? So, depende din sa patient preparation kung may fasting dito, no? But definitely, if the patient really encountered a heart attack, tataas at tataas yan, whether nag-fasting or hindi, no? But you have to consider the timing. So, dapat at 48 or after 48 or 72 hours pa siya i-check if they are really, or if the levels are really, if the levels are really increased, no, or elevated. Okay? So, kung kunwari, dati pa, naramdaman yun. So, 7 days ago, tapos pumunta pa lang sa hospital. Doon pa lang nagpa-check. Nag-request si doc ng LDH. Kasi baka nagkaroon daw ng mild heart attack. Tama ba yon? Yes or no? 5 days ago or 7 days ago. Pwede pa bang i-test? Yes, because LDH level remains elevated for 10 days. But again, ang LDH po natin ay hindi siya yung specific marker for the diagnosis of acute myocardial infarction. No? Pwede siyang isama with the other tests, pero hindi yung entirely ito lang ang itetest ninyo. Okay? So next, we have now here the isoenzymes. So ito na yung na-discuss ko din kanina, no? LDH1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So LDH1, CH4 or HHHH. So kaya siya LDH1 kasi siya yung mabilis mag-migrate, no? They are here, they are clinically separated or they are separated according to their electrophoretic mobility. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And mas maganda po kung ang LDH ay i-measure natin on their separated isoenzyme fractions. Katulad nito, no? Kasi kapag total LDH lang, mahirap because it's non-specific because we have a lot of tissue sources. Well, in here, if we will be measuring them into their isoenzyme fractions, mas maganda because you can see here the tissue sources for each of the isoenzyme. Like your LDH1 here, heart and red blood cells lang sila. So, probably, ang disorder ng pasyente ay myocardial infarction or hemolytic anemia. LDH2, heart and red blood cells. So, pwedeng megaloblastic anemia, acute renal infarct, or hemolyze lang ang specimen natin. LDH3, HHMM, so lungs, lymphocytes, spleen, pancreas. So ito yung probable disorders. And then you have LDH4 and LDH5. So mas maganda kung i-measure natin yung isoenzymes, no? So as you can see here, each isoenzyme here comprises of 4 polypeptide chains, no? Designated by letters, yung ating dalawang different polypeptide chains, your H and M, no? Combined sila into 5 different arrangements. So, yan yung 5 major isoenzyme fractions natin. Okay, so next here, this is from Henry's. You can see here the relative percentage of LDH isoenzyme in various tissues. So here on the previous slide, they are being arranged according to their electrophoretic mobility. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In here, they are being presented according to their relative percentage. And we can arrange this LDH here according to their percentage in serum sample. So ito yung importante dito sa lahat ng tissue sources because we are using serum as sample for LDH determination. Diba? Hindi naman tayo heart, red blood cells, renal cortex, lungs, skeletal muscle, or liver. Serum yung sample na ginagamit natin most of the time. So if serum ang gamit natin, ang arrangement natin dito is LDH2 followed by 1, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5. Ganyan ang arrangement natin. No? Pinakamataas po sa serum, si LDH2, 35%. Followed by LDH1, 25%, and then 20% for LDH3, 15% for LDH4, and 5% for LDH5. So ganito ang arrangement, kumbaga ito yung normal percentage ng isoenzyme fractions ni LDH in the serum sample. Okay, pag measure natin yung bawat isoenzymes. So for the LDH, usually mataas po ang value nito sa newborns and infants. And as we age, hindi naman ganun ka nagbabago eh. And wala po itong gender difference. There is no gender difference for the values of your lactate dehydrogenase. So meaning to say, walang male or female na reference range. No? And as the person gets older, so older than 65 years old, they tend to have slightly higher values. Okay, so ano pang i-consider natin dito sa LDH, no? Sa lab, pagka magte-test tayo for LDH, the patient should not perform any exercise. Kasi exercise could cause a slight increase in the total LD. Mga strenuous exercise, so there might be a 25% increase in the average value. Ano pa? Bawal din ang hemolyzed sample. Even trace to slight hemolysis. Sige na, tanggapin nyo na po. Ang hirap po kasing kunan itong pasyente. No? Hindi pwede. Kahit konti lang yung makita nyong hemolysis, no? Hindi na po pwede. That should be rejected. Or the sample is invalidated for LDH analysis. Kasi kawawa din yung pasyente. Mag-iba yung resulta. Kuhaan nyo na lang ulit ng dugo. Okay? So what else? Dapat i-separate na din natin agad yung serum. Huwag na nating patagalin pang naka-expose siya sa RBCs. No? After centrifugation, you remove the serum and i-analyze nyo na kung kaya. No? Kasi mababago din yung values natin if it's continuously exposed to the RBCs. So, yan. You can see here, ito yung sa serum natin, no? Serum enzyme. And for the serum, mas mataas yung LDH2. So, ang arrangement natin, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5. Okay? 2, 1, 3, 4, 5. So, for the electrophoretic mobility, LDH1 ang pinakauna. Your H4, HHHH, because it migrates quickly toward the anode. Next is your LDH5, migrating the slowest. So, anong ginagawa natin dito? Electrophoresis, ha? LDH2, this is the major isoenzyme in the sera of healthy individuals. LDH1 is relatively abundant in cardiac muscle and RBC. Now, may mga instances po na mas tumataas si LDH1 kaysa kay LDH2. And when that happened, we call that as the LDH flip pattern. Kapag ka nangyayari yan, no? There is a flip pattern for the LDH. And makikita po usually to sa AMI and intravascular hemolysis patients. So, pwede din nating i-check yan, no? If the patient had a heart attack, so pwede nating i-check for the presence of the flip pattern. So, anong gagawin natin? We will be measuring the isoenzyme fractions. So, ang supposedly na arrangement ay 2, 1, 3, 4, 5 at naging 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, possibly na nagkaroon nga ng heart attack yung pasyente. So, we can also check for the LDH flip pattern, no, for AMI. And then LDH3, increase in pulmonary embolism and carcinomas. 4 and 5, found primarily in liver and skeletal muscle. LDH5, moderately increase in acute viral hepatitis and cirrhosis, markedly increased in hepatic carcinomas and toxic hepatitis. And meron din tayong tinatawag na LDH6. Di ba sinabi ko LDH1 to 5 isoenzymes yun. But they are the major isoenzymes. Meron din tayo ditong LDH6. Di kasi ito masyadong nakikita, no? And it migrates cathodic to LDH5. And this is called as your alcohol dehydrogenase. No? Your LDH6 is responsible for the metabolic conversion of your methanol and ethylene glycol to toxic compounds. Okay? So next now, your electrophoresis. So pwede natin gawin yung electrophoresis to see the different isoenzymes. Diba nga, we can differentiate them based on their physical properties, and one of this is your electrophoretic mobility. So, pwede natin silang makita or mag-detect. So, separate, no? And they can be detected either fluorometrically or colorimetrically. Now, for the substrate, lactate or alpha hydroxybutyrate, no? So, you have to take note here that the H subunit, they have the H subunits, they have a greater affinity for alpha hydroxybutyrate than your M subunits. Next, this is the reaction. So, although i-focus din natin to sa lab natin, no? So, you have here catalyzes the interconversion of your lactic and pyruvic acid. And using the coenzyme, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide here. This is your coenzyme. And this is where your LDH, you have here the chemical reactions, no? And you have here the products, no? So for the reference range, depende din sa ating method. For the forward method or direct method, 100 to 225. And then for the reverse, 80 to 280. Okay? But in your Bishop 8th edition, 125 to 220 at 37 degrees Celsius. So, yan yung temp natin. Walang forward or reverse indicated there. So, ito yung updated na edition yan eh. 8th edition ng Bishop. 8th edition yan. So, next, the methods here, you have your walker or your forward or direct. And you have your Wroblewski-Ledoux. This is your reverse or indirect. So between the two, the most commonly used is your, actually between the four, the most commonly used is your Walker method. Why? Because it produces a positive rate and it is not affected by product inhibition. So the pH is 8.8. For Wroblewski-Ledoux, 7.2. This is actually 3 times faster, but mas maganda pa rin sa Walker method. Okay? We also have your Wroblewski-Cabot and your Berger-Broida. So we're done with your LDH. Next is your G6PD or your glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase. So for this one, it catalyzes the oxidation of glucose 6-phosphate to 6-phosphogluconate or the corresponding lactone. Basta dito sa G6PD, ang tatandaan lang ninyo is it maintains your nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, no phosphate, into its reduced form. And ginagamit din to for newborn screening. So kasama siya sa newborn screening marker natin. Tissue sources are adrenal cortex, spleen, thymus, lymph nodes, lactating mammary glands, and RBCs. So again, it functions to maintain your NADPH in reduced form. No. So, mahirap pag deficient tayo sa G6PD because, syempre, if we are deficient in this, there will be an inadequate supply of your NADPH. Eh, minimaintain nga niya si NADPH, diba? And therefore, there will be an inability to maintain the reduced glutathione level. Bakit kailangan natin yung reduced glutathione? Because your reduced glutathione or the glutathione in reduced form protects hemoglobin from oxidation by agents that may be present in the cell. Okay? So kasi pagka, kunwari, di ba, when an erythrocyte is exposed to an oxidizing agent, hemolysis can occur. Kasi yung oxidation can happen, no? So, oxidation ng hemoglobin, damage ng cell membrane. Okay? So, when we are exposed to different oxidants or oxidative agents, it could lead to hemolysis, right? So, ang glutathione reduced form will protect that or protect the hemoglobin in particular, no, from oxidation by agents that may be present in the cell. So, when we are taking an oxidant drug, such as your primaquine here, still remember this is an anti-malarial drug, no? Yung mga affected individuals, pwedeng magkaroon ng hemolytic episodes. So, pwedeng related kasi yan, severity ng hemolysis doon sa drug concentration. So, nagkakaroon ng drug-induced hemolytic anemia. So, yan, for G6PD deficiency, no? Mababa, hindi na po protektahan yung ating hemoglobin, no? Glutathione in reduced form will protect the hemoglobin. So you have here increased levels of G6PD, myocardial infarction, and megaloblastic anemia. And then for the assay here, we can use a red cell hemolysate for assay deficiency, for deficiency assay, no? And then serum naman for evaluation. So sample natin dito ay serum for evaluation of enzyme elevations. Take note of the reference range, no? The hemoglobin. So this is from Bishop 8th edition. 7.9 to 16.3. So now, we have now here your aspartate aminotransferase. And a while ago, I asked this, right? Kung saan test nyo to naaalala. And tama naman kayo, liver function. No, it's part of the liver function tests. So in here, ano ang easy code number natin? Transferase to. So this is 2, right? 2 point what? 2.6.1.1. Very good. Madaming nakasagot, no? Mabilis. Mabilis mag-type. So, 2.6.1.1. So, this is a transferase. So, therefore, involved siya in the transfer of an amino group between aspartate and alpha keto acids. Your aspartate aminotransferase is formerly called as your serum glutamic oxaloacetic transaminase or your SGOT. Ano pala tandaan natin before? When you are asked, you make sagot. Diba? Ask or AST or ask yan, diba? So if you are asked, you make sagot. So AST, SGOT. ALT, SGPT. Okay? So in here, meron din tayong coenzyme. So again, this is a cofactor, right? And acts as a second substrate. So dito, pyridoxal phosphate po ang ating coenzyme. Tissue sources for AST, you have cardiac tissue, liver, and skeletal muscle. And then, mababa siya sa kidney, pancreas, and RBC. Now, for the tissue sources, liver talaga. Mataas siya doon or madami sila doon. That's why it's part of the tests for liver function. And as you can see here, if the patient has viral hepatitis, you will observe that there is a high levels of AST. As a matter of fact, it is 100 times higher the upper limit of normal kapag ka may viral hepatitis. Kaya ginagamit natin si AST as well as your ALT, no? They are considered as the liver enzymes. Pagka nagpapalipid profile, si mommy, si daddy, si lolo, si lola, si tita, si tito, i-check ninyo. Kasama yung mga yan, AST, ALT, or SGPT, SGOT. Pinapatest din yan. Liver enzymes yung mga yan, no? Kasi usually magkakasama na yan sugar, tas lipid profile, tas yan, blood chem nga yung tawag natin dyan, right? Kasama yung liver enzymes natin, AST, ALT. Okay? So pagka matataas yung values, there might be problems. There might be problems, no? So you have here, AST can be used in the evaluation of hepatocellular disorders, skeletal muscle involvement, and myocardial infarction. So acute myocardial infarction. So same with your LDH, your AST here can also be used in the assessment of heart attack. So pwede din po siya. And take note here, AST begins to rise within 6 to 8 hours. So mas mabilis po itong tumataas compared kay ating lactate dehydrogenase. And then peak at 24 hours. Yun nga lang, dun sa ating LDH, peak at 48 to 72. So mas matagal. And then in your aspartate, it normalizes within 5 days. So unlike with your LDH, no, 10 days na elevated pa rin siya. So dito 5 days lang. So again, your AST here is not also a specific diagnostic marker for AMI. So along with the other tests, dapat yan kasama. Pwede nyong isama para sa AMI, no? Okay, so what else? Cirrhosis here, moderate levels, approximately 4 times higher than the upper limit of normal. Saan pa makikita yung elevations nito? Pulmonary embolism, muscle disorder, muscular dystrophies, and inflammatory conditions. Now, for the isoenzymes, we have two here, cytoplasm and mitochondrial. Predominant form is in serum sa ating cytoplasm, predominant form in serum, and mitochondrial form cellular necrosis. For the method, Carmen method, you already know this in our CC1, no? Carmen method here. So we have your malate dehydrogenase or your MDH here as an indicator reaction. So we will be measuring the absorbance here at 340 nanometers. Okay? So the source of error, hemolysis. So pag hemolyze ang sample, reject na natin yan because falsely increase ang AST natin. Stable in serum, 3 to 4 days at ref temp, reference value 5 to 30. Pero sa ating Bishop, 5 to 35. So ito yung updated, no, sa ating 8th edition. So you can see here the reaction, but we will be discussing this also in the laboratory. So again, this is involved, kasi transferase to, right? This is involved in the transfer of your what again? Transfer of an amino group between your aspartate and your alpha keto acids. Okay? So this is for your AST. So this will now be the end of our discussion for enzymology, part 1. Next week, we will have your part 2, wherein we will be discussing more of the specific enzymes. Now, your ALT, gamma-glutamyl or GGT, what else? Your creatine kinase, acid phosphatase, alkaline phosphatase, amylase, lipase, and so on. So we have still a lot of enzymes to discuss, specific enzymes to discuss. And meron pa yung mga clinically significant, no? So yun, clinically significant enzymes. Okay, so this will be the end of our discussion.
Recording
Questions?
stopped.
Anong oras na? 9:45. So, sagad-sagad tayo, no? Alin po ang susundin namin pag nagtatanong sa quiz? Bishop po na reference. Yes, Bishop. Bishop tayo. Actually, hindi naman din ako masyado sa lecture natin. Hindi ganun naman ako nagtatanong ng mga reference values. Kasi nga, Nag-change din siya from time to time. Pero hindi naman din ibig sabihin na baka hindi ko na siya ilagay, no? So, pwede pasadahan niyo din yung mga values natin kasi, well, importante din naman talaga yung mga yan. Yun nga lang, nag-iiba-iba kasi per book. Although hindi naman ganun kalayo yung pinagkaiba nila, no? So, yan. 8th edition ang basis natin for the reference values, no? Lahat ng to ay nasa Bishop na 8th edition, 7th edition, pwede din yan. 6, 7, 8, sige. Pero kung makahanap kayo ng 7 and 8, yun, mas maganda. Okay? So, what else? Wala na? Wala nang tanong? So,